welcome to your quick wins part number 2. So part 2 is basically designed to be combined with part 1. I've broken it down to 2 sections just so that you don't get overwhelmed with having to overhaul everything all in one go. So you're more than welcome to do part 1 for, let's say, a week and nail those 3 core areas that we discussed, and then combine that with part 2 and sort of build on that. You're more than welcome, if you feel confident and more than happy to do so, you can do part 1 and part 2 together. So let's jump straight in. So part 2 is going to be comprised of another 3 key areas to facilitate those results straight away. So we've got NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis, so basically non-exercise related activities. We've got super swaps, which we'll explain a little bit more as we get into it. And then, of course, reducing processed foods as well. So what is NEAT and why is this so important and beneficial? So like we mentioned, NEAT stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is just a really fancy scientific word to say that you're going to be adding in more movement in and around your structured training sessions. So you could be doing, let's say, 2, 3, 4 sessions of exercise, whether it's online or whether it's at the gym. You could be doing that already. However, we're really nowhere near maximising the amount of those calories that could potentially be burnt off, because what about the other hours in and around those structured exercise sessions? So there's 168 hours in the week. By no means, of course, we're not going to be going on walks instead of sleeping, of course. So there will be, of course, a big chunk dedicated to things like sleep and working and so on. However, there's many hours every single week in and around your exercise activity sessions that we can be maximising that movement quality as well. So basically, essentially, adding in that additional daily movement will burn off lots of additional calories. And it could literally come in the form of cleaning, doing a bit of housework. It could be walking to and from work if you've got the opportunity to do so. Adding in a little walk on your dinner break, for example. Getting some good walks in at the weekend. It could be gardening, mowing the lawn. All of these things will absolutely contribute to that additional NEAT. So when it comes to super swaps, there's lots and lots of different examples. I've given you a few screenshots here and some ideas, and just how impactful they can be. So if you like a fried breakfast in the morning, for example, people straight away think to themselves, I'm not having a fried breakfast, it's super unhealthy. However, when it comes to the super swap approach, we can actually start breaking that fry up down a little bit. And we can start being really clever with the ingredients that we use, and also to an extent things like the cooking methods. So on the left-hand side here, we've got 2 examples of bacon there. We've got the bacon on the left, just a normal back bacon or streaky bacon, for example, and we're going to swap that for 2 bacon medallions. So you can see the calories that are saved there straight away. Instead of having scrambled egg means that basically when it's cooked, if you're cooking with butter or a little bit of oil, that additional fat is going to be mixed up into that scrambled egg. We can swap that out for something like a poached egg, for example, or even a fried egg. A poached or fried egg isn't going to absorb as much of that fat and cooking oil or butter, and it's going to be much lower in calories. So when it comes to sausages, we can swap out the pork sausages, 2 of those, for 2 chicken chipolata sausages instead. So as you can see, there's a good couple of 100 calories being saved there as well. So 1 portion of fried bread, it's not my personal preference, I wouldn't normally have that anyway, but if you do have that, you could just swap that out for a normal slice of toast. Happy days, even further calorie savings. And there's other things that you can do, but just with these examples alone, just in that 1 meal, we're saving a whopping 483 calories. So happy days. On the right-hand side, on the far right, we've got some more calorie-saving super swaps. So if you're partial to that sweet treat, that chocolate bar every now and again, we can easily swap those out for something that's equally as sweet tasting. So something like, for example, chocolate rice cakes saves a huge amount of calories. If you like your takeaways at the weekend, we've got our Cheats Pizza in the middle. Now, takeaway pizzas can literally be thousands and thousands and thousands of calories. especially when you're adding on sides and dips and sauces and sugary drinks and things like that. So straight away, if we can swap out something like a Coke or lemonade for a diet version, you're going to be saving potentially hundreds of calories straight away. Me personally, it wouldn't make any difference to me whatsoever. I don't mind the taste of either of those two things, so I may as well just go for the diet option. When it comes to the takeaway pizza, could you make your own pizza version? So we've given you a little example recipe in the middle there. So instead of it being literally thousands of calories, it's coming in at 464 calories and 46.5 grams of protein as well. So we're getting loads of micronutrients in there from things like garlic, peppers, spring onion, basil, the black pepper. All of these are contributing micronutrients. We're having some additional fibre. And then, of course, we're getting some really good quality protein as well from the cooked chicken breast as well. So you can have, you could have tikka, you could have Cajun chicken. It's entirely up to you flavour-wise. It's not going to make too much difference to the numbers. You're going to get loads of protein and save an absolute metric ton of calories as well at the same time. So think about lots of other options as well. So are there any snacks that you have regularly that you could swap out that saves an extra couple of hundred calories? Let's say, for example, that morning coffee that you just can't live without. Is it quite often that you go for the latte with the sugary syrup and it actually turns into something that's 300 or 400 calories? And you could swap that out for something really nice and simple, like an Americano, maybe with a drop of milk in there, and again, saving hundreds of calories. Now, this can compound over time as well. So if you're doing that every day or every other day, 2, 3, 4 times a week, or maybe 7 times a week when it comes to the coffees, you could again literally be saving thousands and thousands of calories, but still having that coffee every day, every other day as well. So when it comes to processed foods, we've all heard it before, but it's really, really important. And there's many, many reasons. We can go into that extensively. However, just in simple terms, processed foods are basically designed for you to be consuming them and going back over and over again because they taste amazing. But because they taste amazing, they're generally high in things like sugar, fat, salt. They might have additives, preservatives, flavour enhancers, colourings, things like this. It's so much easier to overconsume and therefore have those calorie peaks. What we need to do is make sure that we're swapping those out for very low processed foods, if processed at all, because this is going to slow down that rate of digestion. Processed foods are generally much faster digesting foods. So again, even when you do consume them, you've had more calories and they get digested quicker. So if we take, for example, 100 calories of crisps that we've got on the example on the right-hand side there, and we compare that to 100 calories of, let's say, a banana. The banana is going to be higher in fibre, it's going to be slower digesting, it's going to keep you fuller for longer, and again, there's probably going to be less calories in there as well. So try your best to swap those processed foods out for single ingredient foods, where you can literally see on the chopping board the pepper that you chop up, or the onion that you chop up, or that, the handful of berries, or the apple that gets chopped up into slices. If you prioritize those types of foods and swap as many of those processed foods out for those types of single ingredient foods, you're onto a winner. So a nice little summary for part 2 on the quick wins. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis, so basically just improving your day-to-day levels of physical activity in and around your structured workouts. Working on those super swaps, even if you just implement 1, 2, 3 of those throughout the week, it'll have a profound effect, definitely. And the same goes for the processed foods as well. So when you combine part 1 with part 2, we've got 6 areas now working in tandem. Really easy to implement, and you can also do it gradually, remember, to create that amazing snowball effect. Happy days. Looking forward to catching up with you on the next module.